If you take nothing else away from today's time together, and I am sure Dr. Nelson is going to give you a lot to take away, but beyond what he offers, I hope you will take away the fact that you have become a part of something very special. It is easy for us to become discouraged, perhaps to feel inadequate or second class, because the world suggests that if we are not the largest, if we do not receive the highest salaries, if we do not get the headlines about our work, we are in some way inferior or of no real significance or importance, perhaps. I would suggest that if we have listened to God's call and claim, and we have responded, there is no way we will come up short. We do not need to question our value. I also want to be sure everyone recognizes there are many ways to experience the call and to realize the call in our work. Some may say, I just needed a job, and this was what was available. Nothing wrong with that either. But we just have to say to ourselves, okay, I am here. How do I proceed to make something meaningful, worthwhile out of this? How do I find my calling in this and respond to that? I think there are two responses. First, we ask ourselves, what role can I play to support the mission of this institution, and in doing so, realize a calling to contribute to the lives of others? And secondly, be aware of what it is of which you have become a part. Again, our world tempts us to evaluate on the basis of success, success as defined by money, by prestige, by the exceptional. If you choose to go that route, you can find plenty to suggest you are a part of something pretty good. Our product is people and the lives they live, and there is no shortage of success stories. And I can point out some of those, a lot of those, but I'll try to be brief. Joe Manser, class of 2011. Joe came to Catawba to play baseball, but with the help of persons who became mentors to Joe, he decided his real calling was to learn as much as he could about chemistry and apply what he learned to addressing the energy needs of our world in an environmentally sound way. When Joe graduated from Catawba, Notre Dame and North Carolina State waged a bidding war to get him to their PhD programs. Before Joe completed his PhD, he was featured on the cover of the leading chemistry journal in the world. He worked for the government, the U.S. government, for a period of time doing research. And about a year ago, he went with a startup company in the Boston area committed to making batteries or developing batteries for cars and other applications, batteries with the potential of changing the degree of environmental degradation our world is experiencing. Now, I'm sure Dr. Modersky is due a lot of the credit for Joe's success, but I would argue that every member of this community, from an admissions associate to a housekeeper to the president, had a part, because of the community that was created that gave Joe the incentive to do his best, that helped him find his calling and supported him in his journey. Pat Mccrory, 78, more familiar name perhaps, former governor of North Carolina, the only graduate of a private institution other than Duke and Davidson ever to be elected governor of the state. Pat arrived at Catawba intending to become a teacher, which he did. But while he was here, a calling to government service was awakened within him. Tom Smith, 68, retired CEO of Food Lion, first-generation college student who has been immensely successful and has used that success to support many worthwhile causes, making a difference in our community. The young lady who graduated became president of one of the major food companies, a leading entrepreneur, helped penetrate the glass ceiling, and to break ground in minority leadership in business. Jim Tomsula, class of '90, football standout at Catawba, who attributes Catawba with helping him discover a love of and appreciation for opera. And following a very successful sales career, returned to his alma mater to coach, and then became a leader in the German Football League, and then the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, I think. I'm not a football addict, so I could have the wrong team. But he was head coach, very briefly. All right. You have joined the institution which has been pivotal to these success stories. But I would argue you are part of an even greater success story, one which may never be written on the pages of the Charlotte Observer or featured on the social media outlets, but has been and continues to be more impactful, more vital to the quality of life of this nation and this world. From the time of its first offering of classes in 1851, Catawba College has been committed to providing opportunities for the individual who might not be academically prepared to study at Duke or UVA, or the student who did not have the financial means to attend Davidson or Johns Hopkins, the student coming from a background that might make it difficult to navigate the educational process at a large university. Catawba has been committed to providing an opportunity for this student to receive a quality education, one which would open doors to a meaningful vocational experience and equip her or him to respond to the calling to serve and to contribute to strong communities and the basic fiber of life. So you have become a part of a college that has produced hundreds of persons who have and are making a difference in the lives of thousands, if not millions, of people. Persons like Nate Wrights, class of '09, who manages the local Habitat Restore, is active in the community in serving and helping others in many ways. Persons like Joe Patterson Coble, class of '52, retired elementary school teacher and community leader who touched the lives and inspired hundreds of young students to pursue lives of learning and service. Jeffrey Smith, class of '06, executive director of a nursing facility that specializes in providing memory care. Not what he set out to do when he arrived at Catawba, but he found his calling in that and is providing a wonderful service. And the list continues with people who run local businesses, meeting people's needs, people who teach, who are nurses, who are clergy, who are social workers, accountants, and make a difference in so many ways. So what is it about this college of which you are now a part that has created or facilitated these results? The most fundamental answer to that question is the people. The people like yourselves who have provided leadership, who themselves have been dedicated to making a difference. Does that just serendipitously happen? I don't think so. The ideals, the values, the understanding of what is important in life by these individuals has to be codified and communicated to those who work and study here. You are a part of an institution which has done that by lifting up 4 words that appear on the college seal. You know the words: scholarship, character, culture, and service. These are sometimes referred to as the values of Catawba and sometimes referred to as the pillars of the college. An apt image when you think of pillars as the supporting structure that holds up or undergirds or possibly serves as the foundation for something of worth. President Nelson asked if I know when these values were adopted or first used. I could not think of a time when the seal was not prominent. But then, as ancient as I am, I have been around only about 1/3 of the time that the college has existed. So after doing a little investigation, I am speculating the seal was developed as the college created new imagery with the relocation to Salisbury. I can find no reference in any of the publications from Old Catawba in Newton. And the first yearbook was published in 1927, just 2 years after classes began being offered in Salisbury. The seal as we know it adorns the cover of that yearbook, which, by the way, was named the swastika. In the early 40s, for some reason, the name was changed to the Sayakini and has continued to exist for yearbooks until the present time. The original title for the yearbook itself reflected the mission of the college. The word being derived, the word swastika, being derived from the Greek meaning life, or to be, and sometimes interpreted as to live a loving, meaningful life. Allow me to briefly postulate on the reasons for the identification of those values as the foundation for Catawba College. Scholarship is obvious. A college is about learning, right? But it goes beyond just the nature of the beast. Think about the purpose behind the founding of Catawba: to educate and enlighten young persons and help them recognize God's calling and claim upon their lives. The scriptures teach us that freedom comes by knowing the truth, and learning is necessary to know the truth. Also keep in mind the founders of the college were of German descent, and the founding was at a time when Germany excelled in higher education. One of the greatest testimonies to the commitment to scholarship was the assemblage of a faculty brought together after the move to Salisbury. Every member of that faculty, except those in art and music and physical education, had doctorates from Ivy League institutions or from Johns Hopkins or Cambridge. Character. Again, the mission of the college was and continues to be to instill in students a sense of what is right, not just as intellectually determined, but based upon the teachings of Christ, which provide a basis for an ethical framework by which we can live our lives. The daily chapel services, which took place until the 1940s, were not just a time for spiritual reflection, but a time to receive instruction in character development. Recall the quote from a catalog of the early 1900s about athletics that stated the first and foremost purpose of athletics was to learn discipline and mold character. Primary to this character formation was the close relationship with and the mentorship provided by faculty and staff. The strong sense of community inspired all members of the community to care about one another and to act in ways that would serve the good of the greater community, of the nation, and the world. Culture. That first volume of the swastika was dedicated to Dr. Ernst Derendinger, professor of history, German, and art, the builder of Heath Hill, the Heath Hill House and Lodge, a horticulturist that had landscaped that entire block. I would consider him a Renaissance man. The dedication read, to Dr. Ernst Derendinger, whose aid and sympathy have been ours throughout the year, and whose rare knowledge has helped to fit us for life's journey. Although the term culture embraces the totality of socially transmitted behavior patterns, art, beliefs, products of human work and thought, those things that are characteristic of a community or a population, we see in these dedicatory words the kind of culture valued by Catawba College throughout its history, a culture of caring, a culture of helping one another, a culture of understanding and empathy, a culture which values knowledge, and a culture which places importance upon that vocational calling and upon providing preparation for living life. The fourth pillar is service, which really needs no explanation. From students who were members of the Philomathian Society and the Athenian Society at Old Catawba giving commencement addresses for the area high schools, to students going to the Rowan Hospital to give blood during the Asian influenza epidemic of 1958, to students tutoring at-risk children in our community, to faculty, staff, and students pitching in to build not one but 3 habitat houses, service has been integral. And this commitment flows also from our mission and our heritage, and from being a community of faith with a culture of caring and helping. I hope this attempt to provide some historical perspective on both the mission and the core values of Catawba College has been helpful as we seek to determine our response to this mission, to these values. How they inform our work will guide us in our work as we seek to be members of the kind of Catawba community that has existed, that has made this institution so important to so many people. I thank you for your time and listening to all of this.